If you ever find yourself forgetting everything you've ever read, unable to use the knowledge you've gained from reading books, then this video is for you. I'm going to tell you why you should be taking notes while reading, how to do it, and then what to do with those notes after you've made them. This video is broken up into sections, so you can find everything you need in the description below. Okay, so before we get into the how, let's first address the why. Why should you be taking notes while reading books? The idea of taking notes while reading might seem a bit extreme or time-consuming if you've never done it before, but I'm here to prove that wrong. The first and perhaps most obvious reason for taking notes while reading is because it alleviates pressure from your brain as you're reading the books. If you were to, for example, read a business book and you were to try and hold all that information in your brain at one time, you would probably really struggle to do it. This is because, as studies have shown, we can only realistically hold 3 to 4 items of information in our brain at once. And a couple of those slots are probably filled up with dinner plans or unfinished tasks. So by writing your thought down in that moment, you're lifting the burden from your brain and retaining the thought you had in that moment. Next, when it comes to creating content on that topic, it's much easier because all you need to do is slot the pieces together from your notes and create content from those notes. Essentially, you're not having to do research from scratch every time, you're just referencing your already existing thoughts. And think about it like this. Every note you take and every thought you write down adds to your already existing wealth of knowledge that you can pull from later. And I'll go into this step in detail later in the video. Why you shouldn't write in the book itself. So you might be thinking, when I'm talking about writing notes while reading, I mean writing in the book itself, highlighting text, or writing in the margin. This is absolutely not what I mean, and here's why. Writing in the book itself doesn't explain the exact thought you are having in that moment, because you have so little room to write in the margin. So whatever you're writing is probably just a couple of words, which won't actually explain anything. Plus, because your highlighted text or your note is hidden away within the confines of your book, it's likely lost forever and you're not likely to use it either. If you're like me, you might have used this technique and a few others to try and piece together your thoughts and the things you've learned from a book without much success. You might have underlined some text and written a note in the margin and written a note in your notepad to read later, and then you never have because it's completely lost. You probably have countless documents, notepads, pieces of paper and journals, all with your best ideas, thoughts, references and more, all lost and completely unusable because you simply can't find your ideas. If this is the case, let's start with a simple, straightforward and repeatable process you can use to take notes while you're reading books so you can remember everything you've read without any burden on your brain, stress or frustration. First things first, here's a list of things you'll need. Something to write on. I use A5 note cards because they're sturdy, easy to stack and don't take up a lot of room. Keep what you use consistent because your note-taking system is a system. So don't use a note card one week and a notepad the next. If you want to use a notepad, that's fine, but always write in the same notepad. You can use something digital if you want, but you need to make sure that you don't get distracted while you're reading by notifications or anything you might want to do on your digital device. Next, you'll need something to write with. A pen or a pencil, it really doesn't matter. Then you'll need a system that you can log and expand your notes in. I'll talk about that later in the video. Okay, so let's get to writing your book notes. While reading your book, you'll want to make sure you have your something to write on and your something to write with you at all times, within arm's reach. Now you have your note card in hand. Put at the top the book name and the author. I tend to write underneath the date I started reading and leave a blank space for when I finish, but that's completely personal. Next, get to reading. While reading, write down any thoughts you might use later or you don't want to forget. And make sure to write down the page number next to the note so that you can read the page later. These notes should be your own thoughts and in your own words, so don't just copy the text here. If you want to understand something, you have to translate it into your own words. This way, when it comes to using your note down the line, you'll be reading your own thoughts in your own words, which will be easier to interpret and use. It will also mean you're saving that thought permanently, instead of expecting your brain later on to work out and translate what you meant in that moment. Simple, right? Okay, so now we have our note cards filled with notes. What do we do next? This step is nerdy but crucial, especially if you want to retain and use the knowledge you've gained from reading all your books. What to do with your notes after you've made them. Let's look at a scenario here. You've been diligently taking notes for a few months. You've been saving those notes in a little box and keeping them there for a later use. Maybe to write a video, script, or a blog post, or a book, or some kind of essay. Your plan is to write about the topic of focus. So you open your box full of note cards and you immediately feel overwhelmed. You know there's tons of information within those notes, but you've no idea where to start to find the information you need. If you leave those note cards filled with thoughts and nothing else, they're pretty useless and take a long time to deconstruct. This is why processing these notes is so important. Once you've written your notes, we're going to upgrade them into something priceless. And to show you what this is, I'm going to hop over to my computer. Welcome to my second brain. This is a wealth of knowledge, information, thoughts, ideas, and otherwise, all at my fingertips to use whenever I need it. It's also completely nerdy and excessive in the best possible way. If I ever wanted to do a video, article, or even book on a certain topic, all I'd need to do is search for that topic and my second brain would put the pieces together for me. It lifts huge amounts of pressure from my mind while I'm creating content and saves me countless hours of having to research every topic from scratch. The best part is all of the information currently in here came from my 30-day reading challenge, and I'm not done putting all the information in yet. Imagine what this could look like a year from now. So now you see my second brain, let me give you a tour. This information archive was made using software called Oblivion. All I'm doing by using software like this is processing a note on my note card into an expanded note in here. For example, here's a note I wrote for the book Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. It reads, logical reasoning to have self-compassion when decisions go wrong. When processing this note in Obsidian, I needed to make sure that I didn't just write down the information on the page or just write down the note itself. I needed to expand on it so that it made sense and I could use it later. So let's take a look at this expanded note. Here you can see I've used the note as my title and the page number. Then I've given it tags or categories to help me find it and link others together. Then I've written out the text that this note came from, and then I've added my thoughts below that. This is the most important part, your thoughts. You'll want to make sure that you expand on your original thought to make it usable. If it helps, I like to write my notes as if somebody I don't know is reading them. The idea behind using something like this is to help me create content faster and easier in the future. If I've already written my thoughts on the subject, all I have to do is slot the pieces together when I create it. This might seem like a huge, unnecessary task, but actually it will save you so much time later because you're not having to do research from scratch each time, and you can create better content or essays or videos or whatever you're doing with the information because you know that it's all come from your source. In the book How to Take Smart Notes, the author says to process your note within a day. But I prefer to get some space from the subject so I can reread and expand the note with a fresh mind. So you do whatever works for you. Once you're done processing the note, throw away your note card because you don't need it. You can now use this system as your second brain. It connects your thoughts together and gives you a tool you can use to access those thoughts. The best part is, the more you add to your second brain, the more powerful it becomes. I've only done a very short tour of this part of note-taking, so if you're interested in hearing more or having a lengthier tour, let me know in the comments below. If you're a content creator, student, author, or you just want to learn and implement knowledge better, this note-taking system is the way to go. So leave me your thoughts in the comments below because I'd love to know how you take notes while reading books. And I'll see you next Thursday for another video.